So setting a Google alert on yourself is definitely part of maintenance, but the other part of maintenance is having a really well done, up to speed LinkedIn profile. And the reason for that is LinkedIn is the biggest B2B social media. That's not to say other social media sites aren't important, they are, but in terms of a foundation or a core, having your LinkedIn be up to par is really critical and important for managing your online personal brand. You know, we all know that people check us out on LinkedIn. The statistic is something like 77% of the people that you do business with will check you out on LinkedIn before they even ever talk to you. So obviously, we want to make a good impression with our LinkedIn. Here's the bottom line. This is all about building credibility and trust. Managing your brand online is about the amount of credibility and the amount of trust that you create when someone goes online to see you. Let me give you an example of this. I was talking to a reporter the other day who was interviewing me for a story for a pretty large American magazine. And I just asked her, what other stories are you working on? She told me, and I said, oh, I've got a great resource for you for one of those stories. And I told her the person I thought she might want to interview. And her comment to me was, that person's been suggested to me before, but I went and I looked at his LinkedIn and his social media, and it's really not very good, so I can't use him as a source. And I said, well, why not? And she said, because if I use him as a source and a reader goes and looks at his LinkedIn or his social media, it looks to the reader like I didn't do my homework because his online presence is so poorly done. Now think about that for a minute. The reporter knows he's a great source. The reporter knows he's credible. The reporter knows he'd make a great interviewee, but she can't use him because of his online presence. She can't use him because of how badly his LinkedIn and his social media is done. So this is what I talk about as the opportunity cost. When we're not managing our brand online well, when our LinkedIn is not up to speed, we have the opportunity cost. We don't know what employees who might come work for us aren't coming to work for us. We don't know what investors who might invest with us aren't investing with us. We don't know what customers who might do business with us aren't doing business with us, all because of something they saw on the profile, all because of the way we show up online. So I'm going to talk about the specifics of LinkedIn because it's so important for business to business, but the general point and the important point to get about managing your online presence and managing your online brand is that it's all about credibility and trust. So here's the practical application of doing your LinkedIn. There's a few elements to this, and I'm going to go through them one at a time. And the first one, and one of the most major ones, is the profile picture, the photo. So according to psychological science, one of the studies that they did, it takes less than a second for people to form an opinion about you when they look at your photo. Think of all the photos you've seen online that are really terrible, including profile photos, by the way. Think of all the photos you've seen where you look at it and the person either doesn't look professional, or they don't look like they really know what they're doing, or they don't look competent. There are actually factors that go into making a photo look friendlier, more competent, etc. When it comes to social media and LinkedIn, one of the things you want to do on your photo, your profile photo, is you want to make sure that you're looking straight at the camera. So side shots or looking away, all of that doesn't work. What works is a straight look at the camera and head down to shoulders. What they found is that if you just show the face, people seem to be less friendly and less credible. Whereas if you showed the head all the way to the top of the shoulder line, people seemed more credible and more friendly. Why? I have no idea. That's just what the research has found, right? So that's one thing, is make sure you're looking straight at the camera and you're doing a head to a shoulder shot. That's the first thing. The second thing is smiling. You do want to smile when you're taking a profile photo. However, what they found is if people smile with a big, toothy, grinny smile, they came off as very friendly, but less credible. People that didn't smile at all came off as not very credible and not very friendly. The ideal was having a soft smile that shows a little bit of teeth. Now, I think you all might be listening to this and thinking, she's kind of going into a lot of detail about this. But the reality is these are the small things that make that impression. Remember, it's less than a second people form an opinion. So all of these small things in the photo give that person a psychological feeling. Malcolm Gladwell in his book Blinks talks about this as thin slicing. It's that instant feeling that you get without even knowing why, and that's what photographs are like. Somebody comes to your social media site, your LinkedIn, and they look at that photograph and they get an instant feeling. So remember, one of the ways to create that credibility and that trust, take a photograph that's head to shoulders, take a photograph where you're looking straight at the camera, have a small smile, but not too broad a smile on you, and have no distractions. Don't have a photograph where you cut yourself out and there's somebody's arm around you. Don't have a photograph where your dog is in the background. Don't have a photograph where there's a weird distracting background. It's really all about you and your face. And if you do that, as simple as that seems, you'll create so much more credibility and trust just in a visual way when someone lands on your LinkedIn. By the way, everything I'm talking about with headshots that relates to LinkedIn relates to all your social media, all your profile pictures on social media. I'm a fan of having consistent profile pictures, so I tell people I think the same profile picture you have on LinkedIn, you should have on Twitter, you should have on Facebook. I think it's good from a professional point of view to have the same headshot or the same professional photo that goes all across the different social medias. All right, continuing with LinkedIn, one of the other things to do to create that credibility and that trust and have a really great LinkedIn profile is to have what I call a branded background. So on LinkedIn, and it's the same thing by the way with Facebook and with Twitter, you have the option of having a generic background that they just give you when you sign up, or you can create a custom background. I'm a fan of the custom background because what that is it's a brand at a glance. That's an opportunity for you to show a logo or colors or a quote or something that really makes you stand out, that really gives that extra additional information about what your brand is. So where the media site will allow you to do that, having a branded background is a best practice. The other section on your LinkedIn that you want to make sure to maximize is the header space. And the header space is that space underneath your name where you get a chance to write a few things about yourself. Now, what most people do is they just put their job title. That's it. But that's some of the most valuable real estate space on LinkedIn, and it's what we call above the fold. So when people land on your site, they immediately see your picture, your header, and your backdrop. So if your header has some really punchy stuff in it, they can immediately get a sense of you. I call that a brand at a glance. And so what you want to do is you want to put things in the header that get people's attention. It could be keywords that they might be searching for. It could be some awards or accolades that you have. It might be something a little bit more descriptive about what you do or what you offer. It obviously varies for each person, but really using that space well, really making sure that that header space is punchy is a way to give people that immediate brand at a glance when they land on your LinkedIn. All right, now we're getting to my biggest pet peeve on LinkedIn, and I think in some ways, one of the most important ways that you establish your personal brand on LinkedIn. And here's what it is. It's the summary part, the about part. So a lot of people write their about in a very abstract way. They do what we call in writing, telling rather than showing. So if I write in my about or my summary section, I'm a great leader who believes in teamwork. I'm telling something about myself, but I'm not showing it. If I say in that summary or that about section instead, I took a team from X to X% of effectiveness, I'm showing it. So what happens is that people's summaries are often very vague. They're very kind of all over the place. They don't really have a lot of specifics. And the truth is that a really good about or a really good summary on LinkedIn that's told in a narrative way can be one of your strongest advocates for creating a personal brand online, especially when people land on it and they read it through. They get a much better sense of who you are. I remember once I was looking through LinkedIn and I saw a summary of a freelancer. I was looking for a graphic freelancer and I landed on this person and I saw in their about section said, I'm a freelancer who works for myself and am available to do projects. That was it, just one line. And I remember thinking to myself, no one is going to hire that person. That's not a very engaging or empowering about section. And so it's really incumbent upon us all to write a narrative and complete bio for LinkedIn so that when people land on it, they really can see who we are and we show them what we've done, not just tell them what we've done.